Tonight, there is a money invasion of Hollywood by the Muslims once again. Nicolas Cage is losing it, and Zack Snyder has lost it. Cinematic class is about to begin. Your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, another sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth. In movies, we have an awful lot to do tonight. But first, on behalf of Dave, Nick, everybody here at BPTV, our home station, hope you had great holidays, and we wish you nothing but the best for a very healthy and prosperous new year of 2024. And why not start the year by giving something away? This is the movie. I got to tell you a little something about this, folks. This movie came out in July. And if you go all the way back in July, you'll find that I did a review on this, and I really liked this guy here, this character in the movie. He's pretty slick. I'd like to see him in another movie. He's a pretty good guy. This is called The Child, and one of the better action films that I've seen in a while. And I'm going to give, now, officially, it is out on, the deluxe Blu-ray edition that has all these extras and what have you with it. I'm going to give you a chance to put this in your home video collection. Simply send me an address of which to send it to at this email. And this way you don't have to deal with me. That's coming right to our home station at BPTV. And that station manager, Dave Cable, will get those. He'll forward me the address, and I'll fire one of these off to you. And that's how the whole thing works. Let's go back a little bit in time, because I did the original review for this back in July of 2023. And for those of you that may have missed it, or perhaps faulty a little bit in the memory, here's a look back to July and my original review of The Child.
Okay, so what's happening here in this movie? It begins with, you have a kid that's fighting on the street. All right, and he's a pretty decent fighter. He brings in a lot of money doing that, but he needs it because his mom is very, very sick. She's in dire need of medical care and probably an operation to save her life. Okay, up to this point, this is pretty much the launching pad for about 90% of your kung fu action movies nowadays. And as it opened up, I thought, here we go again. Another template that we've got to follow. Hopefully this kid can fight. Well, it turns out to be far from that. This kid, while he fights really well on the street, turns out to be not quite so good as the people he encounters. We step into a whole nother realm of professional fighters and hitmen, and it all centers around one of the more wealthy families in Korea. But see, they're having medical problems with their patriarch also. And the solution to their problems becomes involved with our street urchin fighter. Well, that's not the end of it. There's a third party involved who have hired a professional to clear up the whole matter. That's about all I can give you without giving away too much of the plot. But I can say that the action intensifies, the plot becomes sticky, and the snappy one-liners are as good as your typical American action film. So you have that going for. And I've got to point out, too, that I'm going to take a wild stab here because I didn't actually do the counting. But I'll bet about 70% of this movie is a chase scene. And you're wondering who's chasing who and why. And after it's all done, you go, aha, here's a look at the child.
Who the f*** are you? 친구. 뭐야 니들? 개인적인 감정은 없어. 우린 프로고 이건 비즈니스.
That's The Child. You're going to like this one. It's got an awful lot of action in it. Good story, too. It goes where you don't expect it to go. Send me your name and return address. I'll fire one of those off into the mail to you, and you will thank me. Hey, let's get to the reviews, shall we? You know, Willie Pickton is a very interesting character. He's probably Canada's most prolific serial killer, and over the course of his reign, he murdered over 50 women. He raped them, and then he cut them up and fed them to his pigs on his pig farm. Now, he's responsible for creating the Pigs Palace Good Times Society. And this basically was a massive orgy that he would have on his pig farm with these girls that he, seduced and purloined from bars and what have you. Think of it as Jeffrey Epstein, but only not for rich people, for like average common people. And those are the parties he had. Now, he's attracted a lot of attention. The CBC did a movie called Full Blood on him, and Ben Cotton was the lead in that. There was also a book put out in 2005 called Killer Pickton. And then, and this is kind of unique, after they arrested the guy, and he'd been in jail for about a year, he wrote his own book, and it's called In His Own Words, by him. And it was going bonkers. It was a #1 seller and what have you. And the courts, the Canadian courts stepped in, and they stopped the book from being sold and from publishing because they thought somehow it just wasn't right that that good old Willie Boy was making an awful lot of money on this book that pretty much detailed how he had set up this whole society and abused these women and then, killed them and fed them to his pigs. Pretty interesting. This movie version of it really looks cheap. The editing in it is a jumbled mess, especially the cold cuts on the audio tracks. They don't work at all. And we'll blame editor Jahad Farif for this mess. Chad Farron is the writer, producer, and director of the movie. I'm not sure how he did this, but he managed to cajole several big-name stars to appear in this, including Jake Busey, Michael Paré, Ginger Lynn Allen, James Russo, and Bei Ling. They all appear in this movie. I'm really not sure why they agreed to, because it's just not a top-notch quality production. It's just not put together well. Pickton's story is really good and fascinating. This movie is not.
Partying on a pig farm? Can you imagine?
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Pickman. Pat has told me about your amazing parties. You are the best host with the most. Nothing puts him on like the Pickman.
You're Roderick Willem Pickman?
I'm David, his brother. Did he hit something? He's always running into something.
Oh my God!
Sooner or later, you're gonna have to own up to them feelings and how Mom messed you up. She done broke you like me, brother. Hey!
Nobody's like your mama.
Why do you throw parties for strangers?
I mean, I want to give the world fun, bring some joy into this world,
Say a quick reminder that the official Outtakes with Rex Real Redbubble store is now officially open. And since the cold weather has come into the area with some fierce winds and snow and what have you, it's a good time to kick up your feet on the couch, relax, watch your favorite episodes of Outtakes with Rex Real. And for that, you're probably going to need some nice puffy pillows. Here's the throw pillows, the official Rex Real throw pillows, and we're featuring those this week on the show. Check them out. They're pretty cool, huh? Yeah, they are. You can have one too just by going to the Redbubble Outtakes with Rex Reel store. Here's the little address for you. Go there and check out all the goodies. You'll be glad that you did. Throw pillows are very comfortable. You know, I have to tell you that I was really looking forward to watching Rebel Moon, Child on Fire. This is part 1. And one of the main reasons I was really interested in seeing this is because Sofia Boutella's in this. I really like Sofia Boutella. I think she is the female equivalent of Doug Jones, all right? She is a chameleon actress. She does exceptionally well in these bizarre roles. I'm going to give you an idea here. She played in Star Trek Beyond. She was like the zebra type character that kind of fell in love with Scotty, you know. She was the Mummy, obviously, with Tom Cruise. And she starred in the Fist of Fury Award winner Hotel Artemis. I think up until this point, that's probably the movie where she had the least amount of makeup. She was an assassin, a French assassin. But in this movie, she has absolutely no makeup at all. She's just Sophia. You know, just like Doug Jones, because occasionally he appears without any makeup. They lose something. I mean, it would be like Lon Chaney being Lon Chaney and not having makeup on, you know? These actors just, they need the makeup, they need the prosthetics, they are better as these characters, these weird characters, than they are by themselves. So that was a little bit disappointing when I tuned this in. But nonetheless, I did tune it in, and this is a Zack Snyder. And really what it comes down to is Zack Snyder said, you know, I can do Star Wars, and that's what he's doing, all right? Because this is basically just his version of Star Wars. In fact, this movie has so much of Star Wars in it, it's basically a ripoff. And there's not enough original concept or ideas in this thing to justify it going, but it is. Zack is planning 5, count them, 5 additional movies in this thing. And he's also planning a follow-up limited series for the Rebel Moon. And then he's planning a video game in the works as well. Boy, I got to tell you, after watching this first one, I don't know if anyone's going to sit through all that, because it's just not, wow, it's just not there. There's going to be a extended director's cut R-rated version of this first part 1 movie coming out next month. And then in April, part 2 of this will come out. You know, Zack seems to be pretty big on doing these extended cuts and changing the ratings and stuff. And generally, I got to tell you that his extended cuts are a lot better than the original theatrical cuts. But wow, this thing is way too long as it is already. I got to tell you, this tale needs a better editor. Dodie Dorn does the editing for this. You know, they've worked with some really good people. Christopher Nolan, for one, editor on Memento. So, I mean, you know, no slouch here, but oh my God, this thing is, and I think it's a trend, because when these big name directors go to a streaming service, they know their movie is not going into the theaters per se, so they don't have to worry about theater schedules and times and how many showings you could get in an evening or what have you. And as a result, they become editing dumb, I guess is one of the terms. They figure they're not restricted by time, so they put in way too much stuff. And this movie suffers from that greatly. Get ready, kids, because you're going to be inundated with this thing. Rebel Moon, Child on Fire, Part 1. It's a struggle to get through it. And when you watch it, you're going to see scenes and sequences, and you're going to say, that's Star Wars. That's Star Wars. And that's Star Wars.
We're searching for soldiers for a fight against the Mother World.
I could help you. For a small fee, obviously. You might want to hold on.
I'm here to make you an offer.
to give you a chance at redemption.
We are beyond redemption.
What about revenge? This isn't just pursuit of revolution.
I have found her. The most wanted fugitive in the known universe.
It's a new age for the universe.
There's a whole lot more on tonight's show when Outtakes with Rex Reel continues right after this. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I think it was in the 80s, maybe the early 90s, when Roffler came out with what they called their sculpture cut. It was a razor cut, and a very nice and sharp and neat type of haircut. And I latched onto it way back then, and I was very happy to find out that right here on our home base, we have a place that still majors in Roffler sculptor cuts, or razor cuts as they call them. And that, of course, is our sponsor, House of Fairuza Barbershop and Cigar Lounge, located at the corner of South Park Road and Drake Road. So I usually have Sam, give me one of those cuts, and that's what accounts for me styling and profiling on the show. What are you going to say? Professor, you look kind of shaggy today. And I do look shaggy, and there's a reason for that, because Sam has afforded me the ability to add something new to my resume. Model. This razor cut has become so popular in the Pittsburgh area, and I think it's because it's the way I look on this show, and the show is such a big hit, that Sam needs to train more people in how to do this and how to offer it to his clients. So they asked me, look, can you hold off for a while and get kind of shaggy and then come down and be a model so I can train these people? And I said, yeah. So there's going to be about 10 more days before I head down to the shop, and they get to experiment on me, so to speak, but it'll be an awful lot of fun. It's a good, clean cut, just from watching previous episodes of this show. And if Sam can make me look good, boy, he can do wonders for you. That's the House of Fairuza Barbershop and Cigar Lounge, located at the corner of South Park Road and Drake Road. They support us, won't you support them? Welcome back to the show. I hate to be I told you so, but I told you so. I got some more news on this guy, too. All in tonight's edition of The Biz Buzz. Some of the comments that I receive, a lot of them, are geared toward the reports I do about all of the Arab and Muslim money that was shuffled into Hollywood right after 9/11 and how it affected filmmaking in Tinseltown. And a lot of people scratch their heads and say, they poo-poo those reports. They're still online, so you can find them. But round two of that situation is firmly underway, and it's going to be big because there is new money from the Middle East being poured into Hollywood. This was exemplified in a recent film festival, which was held by Mohammed El Turki. It drew some pretty big names from Tinseltown, including Michelle Williams, Chris Hemsworth, Johnny Depp, and Halle Berry, just to name a few. And these stars went over there and participated and promoted this film festival right when all of the tension was simmering between Gaza and with the Palestinians and Israel, and yet they still went over there and took that chance to boost this up. Now, why would some of these big stars do this, and why is Hollywood kowtowing once more? Because the Muslims are prepared to dump 800 billion, that's with a B, 800 billion into Hollywood productions. That money includes them buying Paramount Studios. They also want to buy the Golf Channel because they run the LIV Golf League, I guess it is. I don't know, I follow golf. And they want to buy a Variety magazine, which is one of the top trade magazines for films. If this happens, the trends that I have pointed out to you before are going to happen again. You will see an awful lot of Muslim and Arab, Middle Eastern technicians and the end credits because they are influxing them in to work on films. That's part of the deal. You will see very sympathetic Muslim characters in the stories. They won't be allowed to play bad guys. And of course, those stars will team up with some of Hollywood's top actresses for love interests and what have you. So all of this stuff that I have pointed out before is going to continue. And let's face it, folks, with $800 billion, it's going to intensify completely. We'll keep you apprised on this as they go along, especially them taking over Paramount Network. That's, wow, it's not just the network, it's the whole production studio. That's a really big move. Have some news on this guy for you. Yeah. I told you before that Godzilla X Kong New Empire was moved. It had originally was coming out in March, and then they bumped it to April. Well, it's moved again, and they moved it back to March. And I'll tell you why all this is going on, okay? Okay. The Toho version of Godzilla, which is Godzilla -1, has done so incredibly well that Warner Brothers and Legendary want to make sure they ride the crest of this wave. So they purposely wanted to move the movie back to March because Godzilla is still a hot item and they can capitalize on that. Smart move. Nothing wrong there. What was the reason for moving it to April in the first place? They had a bug. Yeah, in the Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, there was a new creature being introduced, and it was an insect type creature. And when they showed it to preview audiences, they did not like this new monster at all. It got really bad reviews, and the people said it dragged them. So what they did was they took the movie back into post-production. They removed the new insect monster, and they put in Mothra instead. So Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, instead of having this new insect monster, they're resorting back to Mothra because people won't say anything bad against Mothra. There you go on the Biz Buzz. See this? This is Nicolas Cage. And I've got to tell you that in the last year, Nicolas Cage put together two very strong and powerful Western movies. One was called The Old Way. The other is called Butcher's Crossing. That movie is currently hitting real heavy and big on the streaming services. He's also now put out this movie called Dream Scenario, and this is really a dark horse for awards consideration, so that's why, you know, they're pushing this one now. This is not a very good movie at all. In fact, this, next to those two Westerns that Nick put out, doesn't even come close. It is absolutely terrible on this. And I got to tell you, the director and writer for this, Chris Borgli, he wanted to make some social commentaries and use this script to do that, and most of them really are not germane to the theme that's going on in the story. For example, there's a whole sequence where he does a brutal attack on Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan, and there's really no reason for it. Absolutely none, other than the fact that obviously Chris doesn't like these two guys and decided to put his hatred inside of the script. Nick Cage plays a character who suddenly in this little town begins showing up in everybody's dream, and nobody knows why. And then all of a sudden the dreams turn into nightmares, so everybody hates Nick Cage, and they just go against him at every turn. It is a story celebrating weak men who do not know how to deal with adversity. It's also a very good argument for the Second Amendment, because a lot of this nonsense would have ended before that. They set up an interview with Nick Cage that I, signed up for, because why not? Submitted my questions and everything, which they ignored because they'd rather go with that insipid stuff that they always ask in these interviews. And then once the interview was over, we weren't allowed to use it. We could watch it for our own benefit, but we couldn't cut it up and use his answers or, insert it into the show or everything. They prevented all that from happening. What was just for information? This seems to be a trend in Hollywood now, and it's certainly not good for bona fide film critics, because all that, and you can't use it for anything. It's just a silly thing. And this movie doesn't come anywhere near what was good from Nick Cage in the Westerns. I'd say you could probably skip this one. Your life will be better.
I really feel like you're playing with fire here.
Dad, please help me!
I'm not actually doing anything to them.
Fame can come with some less desirable side effects. You should be prepared for that.
Maybe we should cool this thing off.
What? What do you mean?
It's embarrassing.
Which part?
Guess I'll see you in my dreams.
Yeah. Of course not.
And as we wrap up tonight's show, let's do it with a movie called Bad Hombres. I got to tell you, this movie attracted a number of pretty big name stars, including Tyrese Gibson, Nick Cassavetes, Thomas Jane, and Luke Hemsworth. And I got to tell you, I don't know why it did. It's very average at best. Writers Nick Turner and Rex New, that's a fake name, offer an unimaginable ending to this movie. There is absolutely no rhyme nor reason for the great sacrifice that is made at the film's conclusion. It's what I like to call the invisible art. Asian cinema was always accused of doing this. Characters, whether protagonists or antagonists, have to go through a story arc, okay, which kind of explains everything. In this movie, our character has an amazing epiphany at the conclusion, completing his arc, but you never see the arc. It's never explained in the course of the movie, so you scratch your head and say, where did all this come from? Pardon me, the movie deals with immigrants, cartels, crime, and money. It's really not a bad action movie. Under the direction of director John Stahlberg, the action sequences are there, but that ending is so out of place that it literally negates everything that came before.
You don't look so great. What did you do, man?
We got a job from a couple of guys at the hardware store. They were connected.
I don't really care. I do not have another car. I do have a 1972 Chevrolet Camaro. You do a job with a dude. It goes south. Dump him.
He says he can't get deported.
You say you're gonna wipe your slate clean.
I can make one phone call, and they'll tell me exactly where this picture was taken.
They're gonna demand blood. You're gonna let him go.
You're real.
The God Killer.
That is all the time we have for this episode of Outtakes with Rex Reel. Let me remind you that online, on the online platforms, I'm doing an in-depth study of the big award contenders. Coming up now are Killers of the Flower Moon and Poor Things. Those are the two that you'll see running up there now. Be sure to check those out. We have a lot of fun with them, and I think you'll enjoy them as well. So now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.